Toray is that they are so flexible that they can play any of the different pairings that we have down into that bot lane. We know that Toray is a phenomenal Rakan player, so something like that Xayah Rakan that you mentioned is still capable there. Whereas I don't really know the full extent of Bvoy and Denyk's champion pool. If they are just as flexible on the Aphelios, the Misfortunes, the Xayahs, the Rakans, even the Syndra that could come out possibly.
And from what we've seen across this patch, it has been a lot of jungle plus bot lane in this first pick phase, and already we see Caedrel getting his hands on his jungler of choice. What he said yesterday, Gragas and Jarvan, the two strongest junglers in the current meta. Now that he banned the Gragas away, he'll take the Jarvan for himself. He'll be going toe-to-toe with Razork's Lee Sin. Xayah Rakan, the immediate response. Misfits have the conventionally perceived power pick of the Aphelios, but we've already seen what Patrik and Toray can do when they really get going on the Lovers bot lane.
I'd be really curious if they actually pick up Febi's pick here and don't immediately try to grab something like the Braum. Aphelios and Braum just work so well together, and Xayah Rakan is already going to be such a massive pain to deal with in that bot lane. Maybe they figure that they can get either a Thresh, a Kench, or a Braum on this second side of ban phases, which is why they want to try. Now that makes a lot more sense.
There it is. All right. The Tahm Kench. Aphelios definitely a strong enough champion to warrant the protective powers of the Tahm Kench, but I don't think we're going to get to see that LPL Tahm Kench that you always kind of try to sell me on, where they're using him to dive towers. This feels more like the conventional get-out-of-jail-free W sort of Tahm Kench.
It does feel much more like the defensive one, but then obviously opens up a lot more roaming potential later on when the towers start falling down. We've seen kind of Misfits' MO so far in the LEC 2020 has been a lot of roaming or high mobility mid lanes, the LeBlancs, the Qiyana, so something later on when you're looking at kind of building a holistic composition, Tahm Kench could fit very well with whatever Febi picks, as long as it's not rooted down into that lane.
And now it's very curious to me to see what Febiven wants to round out with. Obviously has time to go for a counter pick. I wonder if the Qiyana is the result of him being very, very good on the Qiyana, or if it's the result of a positive lane matchup. How much does it matter? And is there something that Excel can bring out with Mickey that is not something Febiven has a counter pick prepared for?
I just really like Qiyana right now in the current game state. I think her ability to turn team fights when we're having so many critical team fights, and I've talked about this a lot of length, like, you know you're probably going to get a fight around a Baron, you know you're probably going to get a fight around a dragon, and Qiyana can just mess you up. Doesn't matter kind of what horrific game she has before then, as long as she hits the single ult, that's all it needs.
That is still a nightmare champion despite all the nerfs. I'm just glad we don't see her in the jungle anymore. Absolutely gutted.
I mean, Selfmade had her jungle Qiyana in week 1, day 1.
To be fair, but that was before the new patch. It is just this week with the attack speed reduction that junglers seem to be on the consensus that the champion is completely removed. Balance team, that was their goal, and it seems to be accomplished. We'll see, though. Maybe. Who knows? Adjustments could be made. Not in this game, as we have both the Jarvan and the Lee Sin. And now we get to see what Misfits are willing to blind. They're going to have to take something here, most likely. It's definitely an option.
I mean, with the Lissandra ban, it feels really safe to go to LeBlanc here, because Lissandra is usually kind of one of the picks that you take into LeBlanc, because you can negate a lot of her burst damage, try to have compete with push and lane, or at least some follow-up potential with roam. But that also feels to me like Excel are baiting them into this pick. Like, you knew that the LeBlanc was going to come out here, so Mickey shouldn't be caught off guard at all by that pickup.
Question is, what is he going to opt to go for?
I don't think it's going to be Janna.
I don't think it's going to be Janna. Could Morgana would be an interesting one.
Well, if you're baiting a LeBlanc.
Okay, now here's my question.
He did it.
Funnel is a thing that has been rearing its ugly head once again, and to a lesser degree than the previous funnel, to a less powerful state. Oh, and the Sett. Okay. Now I'm feeling it. Now I'm not so certain about where every champion is going to go. Obviously, the Xayah Rakan bot lane, but do we have a Sett in the mid lane?
You think we could have a funnel top lane with Sett mid?
We're going into the territory where I know nothing and should speak with absolutely no confidence. I want to make that clear to people. If there is a Sett mid, I'm excited to see what he does. But it will be Sett into the top lane. Looks like Morgana into the mid lane. Things going where we expected them to go. Now, there's a lot of weird picks on the side of Excel. Sett still a certain degree, an unknown quantity. The Morgana mid, not something that we've seen in a long time. Mickey continuing the trend of playing very unique champions. I don't want to call them off meta, but definitely not the standards that everyone else has been playing. And Misfits just have a lot of really good champions on the top side of the map. Gangplank, Lee Sin, LeBlanc, it's looking solid.
Yeah, they have great scaling potential, like you said, with the Aphelios and the Gangplank, and they have a really good kind of early and mid-game bridge with the LeBlanc and the Lee Sin, especially on level 6 for both those champions, to rock into a jungle and just cause a lot of havoc. The thing about Mickey taking Morgana, I do feel like it's a neutralizing pick. Famously, of course, it's the SKT, Faker's undefeated LeBlanc versus Pawn's Morgana, and we kind of got the taste of how that matchup works, which is, you don't really get to play it. I'm just going to Black Shield, I'm going to walk away, and that's how it's going to be.
Here we go. Young Buck with the double handshake, back to back. He doesn't need a second coach, folks. One man versus the entire Misfits Sports. That actually not how it works, but still like the gusto, still like the confidence. And here's the thing. I respect the choice that you've laid out there, where they're shutting down Febiven, because we saw yesterday what happens when Febiven is unlocked, when he feels comfortable, when he can set up the plays. It was a good performance from Misfits, a solid performance overall. But maybe now with the Morgana to shut him down, to limit his impact, to stop him from potentially roaming out of this lane as early as he wants to, we won't see the same level of effectiveness from Febi. But then where do we see it on the side of XL? Who's going to be empowered with this more defensive option in the mid lane? Here we are. I love it, Berlin. It's only week 2 and there's already so many good stories here in the LEC. XL eSports versus Misfits Gaming. Both sides running out onto the map, a standard 5-point setup. No one pushing too far for vision quite yet, but it is a sweeper for Caedrel early on. Not opting to go for the trinket swap, instead just ready to clear out some of the vision of Razork. We'll have to keep an eye on Caedrel as well. We heard from him yesterday, a lot of very intelligent, pre-planned jungle pathing on his end in specific matchups. See what his plan is versus Lee Sin.
And I do want to point out the triple teleport that's coming out of XL right now. Usually when you have the teleport summoner, of course, it just kind of gives you the... I think Caedrel said the ticket for tempo. The first to make the play, the first to get there and set up onto a map. And with 3 of them, I expect XL in this early game to very decisively make decisions about when they're going to get priority in a lane, how they're going to unlock Caedrel, and if things start going sideways, to quickly start swapping around lanes.
That is a good question if things have the potential to go sideways. Of course, Aphelios is relatively safe in lane, but may not have the lane pressure. And the top lane, we've seen Sett really succeed into Ornn. We've seen mixed results into the Aatrox matchup, but the GP matchup is a relatively new one. So we're going to have to keep our eyes on Expect and DanDan to see how this lane will unfold.
I mean, I've heard that from what the pro players have been saying about Sett, is that they feel very confident that he can get push priority pretty confidently, but his lane phase still isn't considered the strongest, obviously, because if he is pushed forward, there's not a lot of safety for him to kind of get back to his tower. So if he gets ganked, you kind of have to have the Renekton method, I think, where you just kind of stand your feet, you turn, and you try to look for the 1v2 outplay.
Oh, knockups there. Patrik and Tori looking very confident. Of course, don't want to go into too much of an extended fight with the Tahm Kench, but at level 1, without any abilities on the Aphelios, pretty easy for Tori and Patrik to take that trade with confidence, now burning the Guardian as well. And this is a matchup that I think, after yesterday's solo lane performances with Febiven looking great, Mickey and Expect looking great as well, people might underwrite the bot lanes, but I think Bvoy looked really solid on the Xayah yesterday, and now we get to see Patrik on the Xayah once again. Have to keep our eyes on these bottom lanes to see what they're going to do. I
do want to put our eyes at the jungle right now, because Caedrel is walking forward with the sweeper and really invading Razork's jungle pathing. Now, because he has priority in both the mid and the top lane, he's going to feel really confident doing that. And I think Razork actually chose some smart pathing from the Lee Sin to go red into Krugs and kind of like almost immediately clear out that jungle. And then if Jarvan kind of stepped forward, was spotted out by that ward, he could very safely walk away from it. So got his 2 buffs, took his Krug camp, and he's being very careful around this jungle, even kind of like pulling his Raptors just to check what's up.
I mean, to be fair, he did see what happened to the last mid laner who disrespected Mickey. Died. Of course, that was Pantheon, not Morgana, but still good to give the respect, still good to play this one patient. I'm curious to see what Razork's goal is in the early game. What lane does he want to set up for success? Because as you said, mid and top both getting pushed in here quite consistently. Bot lane's a bit of an even back and forth, so I don't see a ton of very clear gank options on the side of Misfits.
No, it was kind of like how they're going to play around this. So Caedrel again checking to see if he can get anything. Smart pathing from Lee Sin to secure both his buffs into the Krug camp. We'll see now if Caedrel can maybe force DanDan to miss out on something here. I don't know if they go for the full dive. Looks like they're going to do it.
You said 3 TPs. It looks like they plan to use them. Prepping the barrel. Who's going to auto it? The pullback is there on the face breaker. Sett tank, and he goes golden. He's going to clean it out with style. The haymaker, just for a bit of extra flair.
And that is just so clean. And that looks like the type of play that is really well rehearsed. Very well practiced. So not only credit to XL to execute it on the map, but I'm going to go ahead and throw credit to the support staff backstage that looked like they probably run it a couple times in scrims to time everything out correctly.
And this is something that we talked about a lot when you used to coach years and years ago was that there's a lot of things that you can't really run set plays for over and over again due to the limitations of a practice tool, but tower dives are something you can practice with a 5-man team. 3 people try to dive, 2 people try to stop them, run it over and over again until they get it right. Well, luckily for them, when it counts, they get it right on stage, and we can see how effective it was.
Yeah, and I do want to also credit Mickey here. If we saw on the minimap his positioning, the fact that he shoved the wave forward, it was between the minions crashing the mid lane. He backed all the way up, so there was no chance that he was going to take extra damage or kind of be poked out by LeBlanc, and then safely made the teleport to make that dive work.
And it's interesting because earlier we were talking a lot about kind of the second health bar of Tahm Kench and how that can be used as a way to assist in dives, and it's something that you get in a similar fashion with the Haymaker on Sett, where he does get such a huge shield when that passive is fully stacked up, and since the towers stack it, makes for a pretty easy setup.
So now eyes are on Razork and what he's going to do. Razork?
It's really, I kept calling him Razor K as a meme, and it's really hard to stop calling him Razor K now that I've started.
It's like the Special K cereal. Razork.
Part of a complete breakfast.
It's kind of about where he's going to find his opening on this map right now. I feel like his options are really only bot lane and mid lane, and that's still going to be fairly difficult because you have a Tahm Kench as your support, and you're trying to gank a Morgana that's been super safe here. Yeah,
and I think this is what's really hard, because there's not really a lot of great setups you see. In theory, the LeBlanc can go in first. In theory, once the Aphelios has the Gravitum or the ulti really for the setup, you can get a lot done. But Tahm Kench is not a facilitator for ganks until he has that ultimate. Good news, though, for the side of XL, or for the side of Misfits, rather, is they have kept an eye on Caedrel. He will sweep this ward away, but they'll know that he's on the top side. It will give them a bit more freedom to play aggressive, and that's why you see Febiven stepping forward here, chunking away at Mickey.
We didn't catch the very beginning of that fight, so it could be that Mickey opened up by throwing the Q. If not, then I do just want to credit Mickey for actually holding on to the Dark Binding to see, you know, for all he knows, Lee Sin could have flown out of the Fog of War, and so he didn't just immediately throw it when LeBlanc jumped down onto him. It would kind of be his last bastion of hope.
Yeah, and looking at the map, too, as we see the top lane matchup start to just steadily go further and further.
Vision line. They've caught Caedrel at every corner.
But I like that Excel are pushing their vision forward as well, keeping an eye on the Krugs, really trying to track down Razork. And I feel bad for Razork too, because early game it feels like you can smash out in this matchup, but once Jarvan gets that Cataclysm, he's just so much more reliable skirmish and teamfight impact.
So far, though, we've seen so many times that Mickey is literally just hard shoving the way forward, and then he's walking into River, and if he's not placing wards, he's checking with his face, he's acquiring information. We just talked about kind of Misfits' vision line. It's been 3 different wards that Misfits have placed to kind of keep track of where Caedrel is. It just kind of feels unfortunate right now, though, that Misfits don't have an easy place to attack on this map.
Ooh, and Torret taking a lot of damage there, walking right into the Caliber turret. And you're right. They're using the vision, they've got the information, but they just don't have the champion power to do anything with it. And it's going to stop them from losing anything, but they're not going to really gain much from it. Cloud Drake, Herald going to be on the way shortly here. Maybe they can look to play for one of the larger objectives. For now, Mickey just forcing this lane out over and over again as Febiven is just forced to catch the wave.
So the first reset, not the first reset, but a big reset is actually going to come out for the jungle and the support for both sides of the team. And I feel like it's going to be the top lane. And as I say that, they're actually hard pinging on the way top side, simply because GP is still missing teleport, and he now has access to his ultimate. So making a gank here before you gank bottom, forcing out that ultimate, is exactly what Excel need to do in kind of step 1 before they can turn their attention back towards bottom if they want to start getting involved with this Rakan. And if things go really successful in the top lane, they could also rotate into a potential early Herald to get this Sett snowball going.
8-minute spawn time on the Herald. They're already on top of it. They've already reset, forcing the Gangplank ult means he's going to have a hard time moving over. Excel playing the map beautifully here to secure this first objective. Going to have to see what Misfits' response is. For now is to back off on top side. While this Herald will take a while to kill, I don't think Misfits really have the tools right now to contest.
Yeah, and I think it means it's going to be the free Herald for Excel. I expect that they would either use it mid or top lane. If they use it the top lane, I think that feels nice because, again, it feels like Sett's really only struggled in the LEC when he falls pretty far behind the Finn syndrome, as we're going to call it. So good rotation from Torre to make sure that they have numbers advantage to secure Herald. It's now been picked up by Caedrel, and I expect it to go top lane to continue to punish DanDan on Gangplank.
DanDan having a bit of a miserable game. Of course, Gangplank is one of those champions that has a certain degree of inevitability to him, but falling behind a Sett is always going to feel bad. The vision is there to stop Caedrel from going for a more aggressive play.
Okay, but Misfits now need to make a decision. So LeBlanc and Lee Sin have just disappeared into Fog of War, and Caedrel's like, okay, they're coming top. I think the assumption might have been from Excel that they'll try to trade Cloud Drake, but Misfits are not trading objectives across map. Yeah, they lost the Herald, so that's just like a straight loss, but they were not going to say, we're going to give up Gangplank's tower, we're going to give up his lane, and we're going to go to Cloud. They immediately fell back to try to assist DanDan.
And what's crazy is how little Misfits or Excel gave up for that Herald. Is Mickey now in a little bit more trouble? Febiven finally has the lost chapter. Ludenzek will make these trades even easier in the future, but just constantly trying to chip away now. Matchup slowly shifting in favor of the LeBlanc.
So you want to point out that Mickey's maxing the Tormented Soil and not the Dark Binding. Obviously the difference between the support and the mid lane Morgana. So he's literally here for the wave push as bot lane.
Knockup will connect. Tahm Kench to the spit out, but that's the immediate charm to follow. Well played. The CC can come in. The flash away from Bvoy, but he's ticking down. Will not drop in the end. The Ignite falling away. Tahm Kench left alone in the lane. And sadly for Bvoy, unlike Patrik, he lacks the teleport to get back in time.
And now there's actually an option that they can move to this Cloud Drake, and whereas I felt like the Herald was going to go top, there's now also the option that Excel could use it bottom because they've just forced Bvoy out of this lane and are getting access to all of these plates. Like, Excel are kind of started by suffocating out in the jungle with that initial roam from Morgana and just having their eyes on Lee Sin, and now poor Lee Sin just doesn't have options to contest anything on this map. He's going to try to fish for it.
No mana on Patrik. Good body block from Torre. We'll back off. Good call out from Razork. You know, if they do stay there, obviously no mana on the Xayah makes it a pretty easy pickup, but not going to get anything in the end. And plates are falling all across the side lanes here inside of Misfits.
And there's a lot of adjustment happening from both teams as soon as they get information about where someone is. As soon as they saw that Lee Sin was on bot side, Caedrel was kind of sniffing around the Cloud Drake, and now he's sprinting back up into the top lane, and it feels like, okay, we're back to plan A, which is Herald top, punish Gangplank, let's get this set ahead.
Ward's still there, Caedrel's still spotted. LeBlanc and Lee Sin on the way up.
Everyone is chasing everyone around. This is amazing. No one wants to touch this Cloud with a 10-foot pole. Look, yeah, we are not trading today.
Yeah, look, they're fine. They want
to. They can make a pick.
Oh, Caedrel. Weighing over the darkness. Mickey now in trouble. The kick goes in, and that's going to be an easy pickup from the side of Misfits. Finally, some signs of life from the Misfits roster. Now the pushing comes in as Denyk snipes a cannon minion there with the D-mat.
Yeah, and Misfits will not go quietly into the night. Excel were watching them across the map, trying to figure out where they were going to attack them, but Razork and Febiven in particular just following Caedrel at every opportunity and finding their window on a very low health Mickey.
And they didn't want to touch Cloud with the 10-foot pole, Froskurinn, but when it's free, they'll take it. You know, maybe not the Drake they want to see ever, but happy to have it. A little bit extra CD for the Gangplank ulti will be nice. But now the Herald comes out. Turret already quite low. Going to get more value out of the true damage from the Herald. Looks like they're going to be able to break this one pretty instantly, and that's all getting put into the back pocket of Expect. He's already winning in this matchup. You can see going for the Trinity Force, not a more defensive option like the Black Cleaver, so he is here to mess up DanDan's day.
But it's also not just the Herald play that Excel have tempo on, it's also the fact that they very quickly rotated Patrik and Torre into this mid lane, and Mickey is catching a big wave building up bot side. And it's really hard to dive the Morgana, because theoretically, Razork could have tried to take the red and then with the crash that Aphelios and Kench had put up, look for a potential dive on, let's say, Xayah's left alone. But because it is Mickey, he has access to the Black Shield. They just have to reset, but that means that's still like free waves, free plates that went into the back pocket of Patrik and Torre. So across map, not just in top lane, Excel actually won in virtually every lane.
And really the only strong point on the map right now feels like Febiven. As we can see in this play, he will be the beneficiary of this kill. And looks like the play, the idea is here from the side of XL, the setup, but do not respect the execution from the LeBlanc and the Lee Sin.
And you can see what Mickey's thinking. He's like, I've got my jungler here, I have my support
I'll
here.
Walk forward,
I'm
no
totally
matter where
fine.
you go, you're going to get stunned. No matter where I go, I'm going to die to this burst damage, sadly. But I do think it draws a lot of attention to, so far, who I believe to be the most important member of the Misfits lineup. It's Febiven. You saw his performance yesterday. You saw his Qiyana. We all know what he can do when it comes to history. And in this game, with the LeBlanc in his hands, it feels like that pressure remains. He needs to be the one to step up as he gets knocked up. Mickey's on the way. Chains will connect, and Febiven should just walk away.
I think everyone's going to walk away. So we've now fully swapped into Australian-style lanes with our top laners in the bot side.
The funny thing about that is that for people who don't watch OPL, they're going to be like, is that actually what they do?
Map's just upside down, it's fine.
It's good. It's wholesome. It's more symmetrical this season with the alcoves.
You know what kind of tilts me a bit, though? It's that you can't see the alcoves in the top side of the map.
You don't need to see them in the top side of the map.
You just need to know that they're there.
You just need to know that they're there. They're there for Reddit highlights and smokers who want to take a break. That's it.
Well, right now, it's Morgana and LeBlanc.
Hiding in the darkness.
So, pointing out kind of the next play here, you saw the minimap ping go down. It's the mid lane tower is kind of the next easiest objective, and we're probably going to see Excel play between top and mid lane to either look for picks around those two lanes, and if they break with a big numbers advantage, then they can rotate it into pushing down this mid lane tower. But you can see how confident Torre is, obviously on the Rakan, very slippery, but the short of it is that Excel feel like they're on the hunt.
Yeah, Excel feel like they're pulling ahead in terms of small advantages. It's not amounting to much in terms of overall gold. There are some small places where they're not completely winning out, but the second Herald looks like it will go down uncontested to match the first. Should be another tower to follow. And DanDan should just run away here. Oh, Facebreaker misses. That's maximum grit.
Now he has to walk away.
That's going to be used without any mana. They might actually just be able to take down Expect here, but they have to be careful. Showstopper is up and available. Herald has already gone down. So while DanDan was confident to step forward there, it's not going to get him much else. But good signs for DanDan that he's not losing out completely on those trades.
But now it's how much can Misfits stall here on the mid lane push with the Herald behind Excel.
There's no more plates.
I do want to point out that Torre on the top side of the map. Yeah, so if anyone stepped forward, like Bvoy stepped forward to try to contest that push there, he was going to be insta-dead.
Oh, and unlocking mid lane tower. Going to give him so much more access to this jungle. Torre was already fearless. He's going to be able to push in even further, lay down more vision. And you can see Razork just hiding, waiting in the darkness. Looks like he will be spotted out here by Caedrel, but Caedrel only level 8, does not want to contest the Lee Sin in the 1v1-4 now. Razork definitely has the lead. And I just feel like, yes, Misfits, I can see how they can find the picks. I can see how the plays can come through Froskurinn, but it feels firmly like the ball is in Excel's court.
I mean, it has been for the last 16 minutes. The gold lead isn't terribly far away, but I just feel that it's been Excel's who have been making the reactionary, or excuse me, the proactive moves, and Misfits have been lucky to kind of try to keep even, but are being very reactionary around right now, especially around the map.
And I mean, the good news is there is a lot of scaling elements on their team. Obviously, Sett is pretty terrifying in the late game when he really gets to lay down those big haymakers, but the Aphelios, the GP, these are champions that can just one-shot the enemy, especially if you get the right weapon pairing. But for now, still waiting to complete a first item. Still dragging a little bit overall. The odd pickaxe. Just...
Whose pickaxe are you? Oh, Aphelios.
Interesting.
Might just need the AD to help him farm.
I think it's just bad back timing. Or maybe he's like, all I need is one fight. I'll skip the Essence Reaver. We'll get the fat IE damage as quick as possible.
Keep our eyes on the itemization. There's the GLP.
Dangerously close to not flashing out of the range of that binding. With Febiven will be able to get away. Major Summoner Burn, though, will make the follow-up ganks that much easier. And while Excel had no interest in the Cloud Drake, they are willing to commit for this Ocean.
And Mickey is all utility right now. He maxed W. His second levels are going into his Black Shield, actually. So with the GLP and the Glacial Augment, he's essentially a utility support bot.
And I love Black Shield with Sett. Because the only thing you do against Sett is, when we talk about it, you walk away, you kite him. Already difficult to do if he gets the right setup, but impossible to do if he has a Black Shield. If they really want to fully commit, we could see a Shirelia's on the Rakan. That would be my dream state. Just enable this man to punch people in the face.
Run at people and punch them in the face.
Run at people at a reasonable pace, and then, yes, punch them right in the face. With 7.6k gold, Denyk goes back to mid lane. I think he was hoping to take someone with him, because let me tell you, when the Tahm Kench appears, you're like, oh, all right, they're going to defend the tower. And then when it's just the Tahm Kench, DanDan now potentially in trouble. Misfits trying to collapse, but as you said earlier, Froskurinn just very reactionary.
This is a super formula from Excel. They're actually just walking all over Misfits right now, correctly moving their vision line with them, identifying the right tower. I don't think they'll look for the dive. I actually think they're just trying to dissuade DanDan and deny him as much as possible, but they're playing on their waves really well. They're eating up all of this map. The gold lead's still not getting too far out of control, but...
No, but they're matching. They have 3 towers. It's good, actually, that Misfits have actually been able to keep it as close as they have, because it is still a 3-tower difference. Excel got both Rift Heralds as 1-for-1 on the Drakes. The kill's still only 1-1, so a very slow, very controlled game. I'm wondering if there's a break point that like that Excel are waiting for to try to push for a greater lead, or if they're just comfortable with the current game state.
I think the issue is that they have a Morgana and not kind of like a more traditional mid laner.
Like Pantheon.
Like Pantheon. And that Caedrel is going the Cinderhulk route, that you're effectively waiting on Sett and Xayah to have kind of core itemization before you feel really confident breaking open the game. And so I think that's kind of not necessarily what's slowing down Excel, but the fact that they're kind of taking their time with it. That they're playing around when Sett gets super far forward in the lane, that he gets kind of like an isolated 1v1 or he gets a 2v2, and they're just basically hoovering up CS with Patrik. And as soon as he has 2 items, they're going to be much more confident in the fights.
And I think for the sake of Excel, you're kind of hoping that that time comes sooner rather than later, because I just keep looking back to Febiven. That's the double needlessly large rod. We're getting dangerously close to the second item death cap. And while most champions don't have to be super concerned, given the tanky stats on the top side of the map and the black shield as well, we might just see a Xayah or a Rakan get one shot here if Febiven wants to prowl between these lanes.
And not just Febi, it's also the fact that Lee Sin has completed the Black Cleaver, has Warriors enchantment, so you do have a lot of assassination potential, which is why you're constantly seeing LeBlanc and Lee Sin teamed up together. They just want to find someone and get something going on this map for Misfits.
And Razork will spot out Expect walking down. Febiven now uncontested on the tower, but I can't tell who's trying not to fight right now. Seems like both teams are just like, oh, you have more members, we respect that, we will walk away.
Well, you might get a fight.
There we go, Knockup's gonna go there, gonna get the value out of it, but they're walking through the pinch against Aphelios, definitely not the ideal location. Patrik not in place to deal damage, and as you mentioned, the Cinderhulk not gonna be too effective. Decent damage on the Infernal ulti. May have wanted to use Gravitum instead for a follow-up fight, but not a lot happening there, just a trade of spells.
Yeah, there's just no follow-up. GEP ultimate, not there. LeBlanc was too far away for any sort of flanking position, so kind of all for naught.
It's just really anticlimactic.
It's kind of the vibe.
Do you remember when Rakan first came out and it was like the instant RW flash or whatever, or the R flash W, and you're like, wow, he can engage from so far away. Now it's the R, walk awkwardly at them for 1 second, followed by a W. I miss old Rakan. Not playing against him, but casting him. Obviously, a bit too strong at that time.
Remember when everyone had the Rakan changes come in and everyone's like, he's dead.
He's unplayable.
He will never come back.
It's the same thing happened to when you remember, if you remember when Zed's shadow changes
This is the entire game? That is 212. If you can't see it, I know it's a tiny number.
Look, some people like PvP, some people like PvE. League of Legends has it all. Anyone who tells you it's just a PvP game is wrong.
Listen, you're not building Black Cleaver because you're farming your jungle. Just build the Tiamat then.
Ooh, expect. I never realized that Sett actually just says Facebreaker when he uses the move called Facebreaker. Feels a little on the nose, but we'll take it.
Have you practiced your WWE calls?
No. So Medic started doing that, and I was like, we can't all just do WWE calls.
I really want the Undertaker one through the table. Someone's got to get it in a team fight. If he gets to do anything this game.
Very true. Sett is a nice kind of display of what this game is all about. Walking away from each other as a counter to any sort of action.
Yeah, but it's an Infernal.
We can entice them. Guys, Infernal, strongest Drake in the game. A guaranteed win if you get a single one. That's a lie. But if you get it right now, whoever gets this is going to win. It's working, Froskurinn. I've convinced them.
High in fiber, it's very tasty. Here comes the teleports.
So many teleports, the entire team now coming in. Mickey walking forward, Spooky Ghost are there, that's a slow DanDan, now Tori's in the middle of the team, that's a beautiful ultimate, but the Tahm Kench is there to stop, the Tahm Kench is there to deny, Febiven is waiting over the wall, Patrik sees him coming though, he's going to flash backwards, they're going to take it, Patrik manages to get the Drake, he has the black shield on as well, but keep your eyes on Bvoy, because here comes the onslaught, Patrik next on the list, but DanDan coming in, that's a clutch barrel, that's a triple kill, and now Misfits are on the map.
And it was a very messy team fight from Excel. They were late to the party, they forced way too hard with the teleports, Misfits managed to play it slowly, massive damage from the Gangplank in particular, and yes, they lost the Infernal, but they're walking towards the Baron.
And Lee Sin went from 200 damage to 1,700 damage in a single fight, and that's what you love to see. But now, stakes are getting higher for the side of Excel. They were comfortably in control of this game, but now they got to make some decisions. Now they got to get it done. There's no showstopper for Expect, but he can just make his way to the pit if he wants to.
They have to back away. Caedrel's there.
That's true. That's a good read on the situation. I forgot. I forgot this is a slow, controlled game, Froskurinn. I was getting too hyped. I was like, they're going to fight for it. One more time, it's the pit, Sett.
But that could have been the breakaway for Misfits. They finally found the gold lead. Yeah, again, they lost the dragon. But if their jungler had stayed alive, that was surely the Baron.
I do want to say, just can we look at this fight again, because actually a lot of fantastic things happen here.
Okay, so you get Torre, who gets kind of the initial knockup, but Denyk actually absorbs a lot because he just has Aphelios inside of him, and so you have people diving onto the back line, but it's not really meaning much as Bvoy gets kind of shot out to the side. Patrik with a very sweet steal here, but I just feel like Patrik was stuck in a bad position, had to hourglass very early, immediately into a barrel, and just explodes. And kind of the only silver lining was the fact that Excel did manage to kill the Lee Sin, but the back lines and the front lines get very separated.
Lockdown is there, Tahm Kench on the way. Save of the day for now. Wants to spit him out. The flash to safety, the re-engage. That's right. No one's going down on Denyk's watch.
That is, I'm going to say, 2 fights back-to-back that I'll give Denyk the save.
And I was excited because I was trying to talk about the difference between AD carry flashes. But we're going to hold that thought because there might be another fight. Febiven kind of dissuading the engage here. Poking, prodding, trying to deny XL a little bit of the vision that they're trying to lay down in the enemy jungle. But it's a full 5-man commit on the top side from XL. They have a decent wave.
Here comes DanDan. He does have teleport. He could look for a flank. There he goes.
Oh, and that's actually really good from XL. Teleport is now committed here. I don't know if they're going to be able to find the falling fight. They have to commit. They've used a major cooldown if they want to win the falling fight. Torre's going to go over the wall. He's going to find the knock-up onto DanDan. Patrik trying to buy as much time, but he doesn't have flash to the last fight. But that was a horrible kick, knocking him right back to safety. Patrik's still dealing so much damage, still finding 2 kills in this fight. Expect still alive, and oh, here we go, right in the pit. You do not want to fight this Sett. Febiven stepping forward. Haymaker going a little wide, trying too hard to be flashy with the predict. Finding will not connect. Sett still alive for now. Expect trying to buy time, but Febiven finishes him off. Anything you can do, I can do better, but Caedrel with the dunk down flag from the sky.
Mickey from the Baron pit. Yay, good luck, team!
You can do it, Sett!
Yeah, I think the turning point that you called there was the fact that Sett tried to get really flashy by predicting the distortion back from Febiven on the LeBlanc, whiffs the W, and then Febi is able to walk him down.
We have to watch this fight again, because I may have missed it, but there was no flash on Patrik. Razork kicked him out of the fight, thinking he would finish him off, and just kicked him to safety. He got to auto like 4 more times.
Okay, so we start the fight. It's going to be Gangplank. DanDan uses the ultimate to force him off the tower and is now flanking. Let's watch the kick.
Here we go.
Xayah ultimate down. Yeah.
I want you to know that the reason I'm not speaking right now is because I was raised, if you don't have anything nice to say, you don't say it at all. Yeah, trying to get fancy there. We didn't get to see cheerleader Mickey from the opposite side of the wall. That was my favorite personal part of the fight, but...
When Morgana's already, like, disengaged from the fight, she's like, I could walk around, but it would take a very long time, and these are not the appropriate shoes.
But... You make Morgana such a diva.
Look how she walks.
Yeah, it does add up. It's very pompous walk. It feels like very prim and proper. But I mean, look, Patrik killed 2 people after that kick went through. If they had actually just taken him out, that fight might have been
popped him like a balloon.
Yeah, way more favorable. Now, of course, Misfits still looking good because Febiven's able to make a lot happen. Forces Caedrel to come in a ton here, but now flashes are coming back up for the side of Excel. In the next fight, they're going to be hugely favored to come out on top. But for now, they do have to play back. They do have to play a little bit safe and wait on those cooldowns, but Misfits are clearly in the lead.
And I think a lot of that damage is coming through from the Gangplank here. DanDan now 3-1-2. He's got so much gold in him right now. He's a full item ahead of his opponent top laner, and he's just chunking people out when these barrels line up. But
oh, they just want to walk him down. Febiven poking from the side. But I really love this from Febiven. Full committal there. Ulti now comes in. Torre trying to find the disengage. They need to step for him. Roots now coming through, but Misfits still favored overall in this fight. Patrik's flash comes off cooldown, isn't immediately used. Misfits are smashing in these fights.
Yeah, and it was another really good Gangplank ultimate from DanDan that forced Excel onto the retreat here. Now, you are missing some crucial summoners and some crucial ultimates, so I think it is going to be about playing for posturing on this wave, and then the infernal that Lee Sin's walking towards now. Patrik's just like pieced out. Oh, they're pinging Baron. They think they're going to trade infernal versus the Baron.
That would be a very good deal for Excel. Or any team. Bvoy stepping in, have to respect DanDan, though. Those barrels are going to be huge. Can probably outdamage this fight at this point in the game.
Okay, here comes Lee Sin.
Good bit of poke. Turret down on the top side. They're buying time. Are they going to back off? Are they going to stop DPSing it? No, they're full committing here. Redemption has been used. Trying to buy a bit more time. Stop, though. That's the Baron for Excel. The fight stopping for now, but Misfits are on the hunt. They can take out a few members. They can mitigate the effect of this Baron. DanDan stepping forward.
Okay, I don't want to call him out early. We'll see the replay. Eyes on Lee Sin. I think he flashed into the wall.
Infernal going down for Misfits. If what you say is true, this is going to be a difficult, difficult day for Razork.
Okay, eyes on Lee Sin. What happened here?
He's running. He's on the way. Nothing else matters. Lee Sin, this is his moment. He dreams, I can steal this Baron. He says to himself, oh God, no, it's horrible. Oh. Put the Teemo error sign up, please, save him. Oh.
He lost his teeth.
That
was...
Ooh, can't even get the red buff. Caedrel, give him a break.
Okay, I have good news, though. Okay, I'm going to try to... It's not necessarily good news. I think I overestimated.
Just make your point. We don't have to pretend.
Because they have Aphelios and Gangplank, still really decent wave clear. So yeah, Excel got the Baron. It doesn't mean that it's the absolute end of the game for Misfits unless they get wiped here. They should actually be able to survive this one unless they take a bad team fight. So that's the silver lining.
Okay. It's a pretty decent silver lining. Other silver lining, Febiven still does a ton of damage. Bvoy is getting progressively stronger. Those turrets coming over the wall are so obnoxious to deal with. It is just poking. So Misfits are holding on. But this has been such a back and forth game. Early game, totally in control of Excel. One team fight. Misfits now there in the driver's seat. One horrible fumble in the top side and then immediately around the Baron. Excel are back on top.
I just think another nice thing about kind of Misfits composition is not only the scaling options, but the fact that they have multiple damage threats across virtually every single member. So if team fights get really scrappy and there's not like a front to back line of scrimmage that's set and you're just trying to kill the tank line as quickly as possible in front of you, like they excel in those team fights. They have so much mobility, they have so many damage threats.
Oh, Febiven salty. He's going to lock every single member down and now they're just going to shred through. DanDan on a rampage. Febiven looking to lock up Caedrel. Patrik trying to dissuade any further engage, but my God, Sett, you don't 1v1 a pirate. Definitely not outside of a pit. That's rule number one. He now going in. Just going to walk him down. Denyk trying to give him the tongue. Patrik running for his life. The third auto won't come in. Caedrel wants to turn this entire game around because Patrik is still alive. Hope is still alive for the side of Excel. Mickey and Patrik. Febiven wants to step forward. He knows one combo will kill Patrik. Binding will not connect. That's a fake LeBlanc, but Patrik still untouched. 2v3. LeBlanc now the support to try to turn this one back, and Excel holding on despite a terrible initial fight.
And basically what my point was going to be is that the short of it is that Misfits can carry from multiple positions, whereas Excel's composition at this point is almost exclusively Patrik and Sett. Like they have two actual carries, and this is really how these fights are turning out. Like everyone is strong arming for little Patrik here.
And the difference too is Lee Sin, despite the struggles that Razork has had in this game, just kicks Sett out. And then he has to walk back in. He's not doing anything effective. The difference is the GP lays down a barrel and shoots it from a mile away, and everybody dies, as you'll see here.
Yeah, that was the big explosion there. Thank you for slowing down observers. And then Expect just has to go in. He's underneath tower. He's in the middle of the GP ultimate. And Excel do manage to kind of walk this one out in the end, in part due to some hardcore parkour by Caedrel. He's like, he flags to the wall. He bounces off the wall into the ultimate. Tell me that wasn't some like Mirror's Edge that you just saw there.
I don't know. Given that he died and no one else really did, it was a little bit more like that scene in The Office.
Drakos.
Yeah. Just jump into the refrigerator box. It's fine. Yeah, so champion damage dealt. What you can see is Patrik, the one true carry of this team, as Expect, wasn't able to have an effective team fight. But the split damage profile you mentioned, very much true on the side of Misfits, mostly right now on the side of DanDan.
It's also an issue that anytime Patrik doesn't have access to Flash, I think it's actually just a lost fight for Excel. Like, they almost can't look for fights if he doesn't have Flash, because a random barrel will just ruin his day into, like, a Lee Sin queue.
Barrels are ruining the meta. Gragas, GP, you heard it from Yamato. There's barrels everywhere. Need to get them out. As we check in on the map state, gold is about dead even. Tahm Kench going to take the team out. Well, part of the team. Lee Sin is going to be stuck in the jungle for a little while. Bvoy sitting low on ammo with both weapons. Not sure if he's deliberately trying to save some cooldowns here or if he's just had nothing to hit. Looks like nothing to hit was the answer.
Feels like the option from Excel right now is to try to go back to finding a pick with Torre and Mickey. So again, it's about creating pockets of denying vision, standing in that darkness, and then waiting for someone to face check.
I like that. They're immediately deleting the towers. Making sure. Chakram, one of the biggest threats in any kind of team fight, mostly because of these turrets, not necessarily with the mini Chakram as many people expect. Febiven splitting on a sideline, expecting something similar. DanDan.
Ooh, that was good.
I like that. Just going for the barrels. Ulti is now going to be committed. Big infernal ball, half-helting multiple members. Bvoy still alive and well. Febiven still pushing on the bottom side. Expect and the rest of Excel need to get back to their base if they want to defend this one. Well played by the side of Misfits, baiting them in just enough. And Excel honestly overcommitting on this play as Febiven gets an uncontested inhibitor tower.
And it's just really difficult to deal with Gangplank here. Like, Caedrel goes over the wall. He's not forcing the dive. He's actually just trying to remove the barrel. But it's almost like you need to be more decisive if you're Excel. If you're going to make that move, you almost have to look for the dive, try to kill them, and translate it into a tower push. Because right now, Misfits are trading up in the last, I think, 3 to 4 fights.
Yeah.
Outside of the Baron flash.
Yeah, outside of the... We'll just forget about that one. Plenty of people are going to have that highlighted. They'll do more justice to it than we ever could. Now, double Infernal on a composition where every champion other than the Tahm Kench is really excited about Infernals. It's going to be difficult to deal with. The Soul, of course, the most important thing, and it's next on the list for Misfits. 5 minutes out for that one. Baron is already up. So... lot on
they
the table.
Really need a pick here.
Patrik has to be careful, though. He's stepping very far forward, has the BT for the extra shield, but one misstep against his GP and he dies.
Yeah, and DanDan's ultimate is just about to come up, so it is now available. Patrik does have his flash, so Excel, again, will feel a bit more confident if a team fight does break out, but otherwise they are trying to buy time for Expect here onto the side lane.
And they've got all of these TPs, but outside of sets, I just don't feel like they've been getting a ton of use out of them past that first initial tower dive.
So here's kind of the window. So Expect pushes up this bottom wave, and then he immediately cuts up underneath into the river and starts sprinting back towards his team. It's matched correctly by DanDan, who has cross-map potential, not just with the teleport, but also with his ultimate. And I think we're going to kind of see this maneuver repeated multiple times from Excel, where someone shoves a wave forward, tries to get someone from Misfits to respond to it, and then races back towards the team while Torre and Mickey look for picks on Misfits.
Ooh. 10K Baron dropping, started up for Misfits, hoping to find a pick, but DanDan definitely not the target they're looking for. Far too tanky, far too strong, so they are just forced to back off. But that is the window you're talking about. Now we might see Sett walk back to that side lane, this time on the top side to match Febi.
We're just ping-ponging waves, a tug of war, fighting for position really over this Baron pit.
If you're in studio, you can hear a lot of shouting from the Misfits side. Clearly very focused. The objective in front of them. And Expect, sadly, doesn't really get to do anything against LeBlanc. It really has to be a misplay from Febiven to get any kind of significant trade. And Froskurinn, I really thought that when Excel showed us so much control and so much planning in the early game and the Lee Sin hadn't really gotten anything done, that this game was going to be over. But as you can see from the gold graph, Misfits are just going further and further ahead.
I think we lost the plot a little bit when the towers fell down, but here comes the Abyssal Voyage.
All right, either Sett's going to die or he's going to get his opportunity for a highlight play. The pullback, the Freight Speaker, looking for a little bit more. Here comes the Haymaker. The Lee Sin goes into the mid to it, but Expect is running for the hills, trying to buy a bit more time. DanDan on the way in. 5 members already committed. The rest of the team, though, across the map for the side of Excel. Expect is down. It's open access. 60-second death timer means it should be a Misfits Baron, but Caedrel's here for the potential stealer. Patrik is on the bottom side looking for the trade. If Caedrel steals this, Excel can just end the game.
Oh, the wave clear! DanDan with a critical ult.
They're stepping forward, though. They're just going to tank the tower for this one. Maybe they can take down the GP. Caedrel's been kicked back into the pit. He doesn't have enough time. He's just trying to slow them down. There's no way Torre can steal this one. But DanDan has backed off. 1,600 health. Rakan not going to find a redemption for Razork as he secures that Baron.
And the only silver lining for Excel right there is the fact that they did manage to break the bottom inhib through the combined efforts of Mickey and Patrik. That said, it's the Baron for Misfits. It feels like they've been winning multiple team fights for kind of the last 10, at least 7 minutes. I'll say 10 minutes.
Sure, round up. Now Misfits barreling down the top side of the map. Should be able to break down a few turrets here. Oh, Infernal is so obnoxious, just trying to poke. Ulti comes in, that's the Graviton. Patrik now has to run for his life. Feathers are not really finding any effect here. But Flash and ulti burned. Next team fight, once that GP ult is up, means Patrik is as good as dead.
Looks like it's going to be a reset, though, from Misfits, so losing a lot of time on this, on the Baron. Infernal going to be spawning in 1 minute. I don't know if Misfits are going to feel confident enough to use the rest of the Baron to translate it into shoving down objectives, or if it's just going to be about getting position over this next Infernal to come up.
And at this stage, I just don't I don't entirely see how XL win a fight if they don't get some of the picks that you mentioned earlier. Because just in terms of sustained damage, they cannot match. And Sett does a lot of damage, but it's slow damage.
It's going to be very difficult. And I think we've been watching XL really struggle to figure out kind of where they go at this point in the game. Whereas, again, a lot of messy fights have been happening, and Misfits are just ripping them apart. And even in like a pretty basic, straightforward fight, as long as a barrel gets underneath them, multiple members of XL just blow up.
You can see XL just grouping, sticking together. Febiven remaining irritating, burning Guardian cooldowns when he gets the chance. But I like the patience the Misfits have been playing with. Waiting for XL to overcommit to an option. Razork could be in trouble, but DanDan's here. CC will connect. Tori's going to be in trouble. Might just be a highway for Lisa to get into this back line. Denyk, who's overextended. Bvoy, big ulti block. And damage coming down, but the GP ult does not hit the back line. Patrik, half his health instantly gone. The Black Shield buys him a bit more time. Expect in the middle of everyone. He's going to try to suplex down. The RKO, not enough to take him to safety. But Tori and Patrik cannot get it done. Misfits, another shutdown, another clean fight for Febi and Bvoy. Misfits are shredding through XL. And you're absolutely right, Froskurinn. They have nothing left for XL. 7 kills to 17. Misfits are going for the base.
And yeah, I think that they are actually going to walk away with this one. You can see it on the death timers. You can feel it in the players from the other side. DanDan immediately pulled the trigger on the teleport. And Misfits, after what an early game was completely dominated by XL, were able to stall, wait it out, get to kind of their item breakpoints, and then just take fight after fight.
And they were worried about Febiven. They picked the Morgana to shut it down, but they should have been worried about DanDan, because that was a clean Gangplank performance and an easy win pickup for the side of Misfits after the early game.
It was a quiet game.
Yeah, it was quiet for a long time, and then it was exceptionally loud and over very quickly.
Shout out to Febiven in particular. I feel like he was forcing a lot of pressure on his LeBlanc moving around. Also DanDan, of course, on the Gangplank. To me, was the biggest difference maker in a lot of those team fights.
Also, shout out to Misfits for observing the #1 rule against Sett, which was just walk away. And the new second rule, which they just invented themselves, which is just walk away until your Gangplank is giga-fed and then just kill him.